How do you handle closed data, data under data protection? I think that's a common question that a lot of people are asking.
Well, as I referred, it's about linked data. It's not about linked open data. The open data is a policy in Flanders that all data that's not under privacy regulation, it's open by default. And we also have projects where it's about closed data. For instance, we have a citizen profile which brings information from citizens together to be shared and reused in different applications. And there the data is behind a firewall. The data is not open, but we use the same principles to create interoperable data.
Yeah, exactly my point. Data should be modeled in either way, if they're closed or open. There's the same interoperability that we should have other means to ensure that what should be kept secret is kept secret. I'm a data architect, not a legislator.
If I may ask one of my own, in Per's slide, now it's gone away again, I saw some commercial tools, whereas Rough's toolchain is fully open source, and it seemed to be an important point to you also. So could you both briefly comment on why you choose one approach or the other?
Well, we don't see a need to make too many changes to the way that people are working. If they already have a commercial tool, if they're already feeling secure within their little commercial bubble, I'm not the one to change that. What we need them to do is to release their data, release their models in standardized ways. But how they come up with the standardized models, it's not our business.
All our tools are open source except one. It was also using Enterprise Architect to make the UML models. And now we are reworking our tool chain that we also have an open source alternative, so that we also have small agencies in Flanders that we will not enforce them to use commercial tools and licenses to be compliant with the process and method. So this is the reason that we are working towards a tool chain which can be used both by open and closed source tools.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Sitting by the microphone. Thanks for the presentations. So part of my question was, you've kind of answered already around how do you support across the different public administrations? Because I'm sure while the policy and the strategy is there, kind of getting it actually rolled out on the ground across all of the public organisations can be a challenge. So at a technical level, you kind of support through the open source tools, which is great. How do you find it at an organisational level? I mean, how mature are these different initiatives, and how are they being adopted by large, medium and small public administrations? Thank you.
Very good question. On a policy level, when I go back in time, back in 2012, 2013, we started the Interoperability Programme. And then we faced some hurdles. It was not adopted by many parties, and it was not adopted by private companies who work for government and provide solutions. because there was no sustainable governance. There was no life cycle management on the standards, and there was no trust. Since 3 years, we have what's called a standardization body, which is under the regional government, so it's empowered by government. And it follows a triple helix approach. This means we have representatives from local governments, local governments, regional governments, and also from academia and private sector. So this means we have a top-level governance body where we can agree on standards. And the first thing we did in our standardization working group was to agree on a process and method, a transparent process, so everybody in our region can create vocabularies. The only thing they have to do is follow the process. And this has given trust to all actors. Now also our colleagues from federal government are represented in the governance body. And this has given trust to a lot of administrations, not only to adopt on vocabularies, but to start their own initiatives. So we have from one of our agencies are working on legislation, and because there's a formal structure and there is support for them in the process, that they started their own developing their own vocabularies. Second thing that we are doing is at this moment we're working on a lot of not only tools, but also we're working on manuals to educate all the actors in Flanders. So not only the government, but we're also giving training to private sector, and we're also giving collaborating with academia. And in the second half of this year, we will have a lot of workshops. And the third thing that we are doing is talking to our community. At this moment, we have a huge questionnaire where a lot of people are giving input on what we should do. So should we have freely adoption, comply or explain? So we are getting in touch with our community, and we will also follow the results of the questionnaire. So we're working on 3 levels: governance, support and tooling, and staying in touch with our community.
Okay. Per, if you have
just a
same question, please do it short. We are approaching the end of our time slot.
Just a few remarks then. We do have a governing body that's in place in order to set up regulations on how to do data modeling, how to do web services. But actually, I think that what's really important here is leading by example. In that we did put together for the basic data program a very broad model that covers all the national data, and having that in place, we were able to build services that were more coherent. We were able to put up data administration programs that were more well described. And that is what gives us our license to operate as setting out standards on how to do things. But then we do experience a lot of differences. So some agencies are really good, have their own in-house modeling sections, will do all the stuff. Others are fully dependent on vendors and will take a long time to adapt.
Okay, thank you both for this very cooperative presentation and for the excellent timing. I see that this last question is of more interest, and both of you have a lot to comment on it, so I invite you to continue the discussion during the coffee break, and I invite you all to go into the coffee break right now.